Good evening. You are listening live to the Xtreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob. Tonight, joining me is Adolphe and Pixel Angel, aka We're No Angels. Obviously, that's RDV from the Great Midwest, the young 35 something ish kind of guy, not
Ooh,
young, not old. And of
I
course,
lost
got
you
the
here.
young
I like this guy.
millennial man himself, and that's not Psycho Sid Vicious. That's Professor Pixel, also from the great state of Florida, but a bit south of the Pine Hills Palace, as it were, an hour or two. Tonight, 2021, Christmas, our last broadcast almost until the holiday. For some of you guys, probably the last one you hear. We decided we wanted to go out with a bang, so we said, you know what? We need to do something festive, something fun, something frolicky, something F-bombed, and that would be We're No Angels with Humphrey Bogart, 1955, Peter Ustinov, and a guy named Mr. Ray, which we're going to be talking about these guys momentarily. It's a movie that I don't know if the remake in the late 80s was based off it or it's not or what, because that sucked compared to this. This is a great Christmas film. It's feel good, and I got to be honest with you guys, when it comes to schmaltz, for the most part, unless it's like Rocky Balboa or like something with a dog that doesn't have a bad ending, I'm not a big fan of Christmas movies. Love Charlie Brown, love The Rankin Bass, which we've covered recently, but I hate sometimes popcorn for popcorn's sake. And some of these older ones where they really force it on you, like A Christmas Carol and some others, they irritate me. Not this film, as schmaltzy as it is. I got to say that, and a lot of it has to do with how good the performances are of these three guys. But overall, if you have not seen We're No Angels, the original from 1955, go check it out. I had a Blu-ray version, gentlemen, and I looked at my DVD version, started watching it, and then I said, well, is it going to look any better on Blu-ray? And holy crap, does it. It's VistaVision. I think the aspect ratio is a bit higher. Great looking film. It's a lot of fun, and I can see why people really like this as an old film. So let's go around for our first impressions here. RDV, what's your initial take on this film?
When I first went into watching, I was like, okay, it's interesting. It's Bogart. It's in the 50s, or so actually no, it was the late 40s.
55.
55. It's right around there, yeah. Yeah, and I kept thinking, because we all know that 57 is his doomsday.
Last when he
year.
Passed
away. So I'm looking. I'm looking how skinny he is and how he reacts stuff. You can't really tell that he has cancer. It doesn't really show. So when I got into this, I was like, you had said this is supposed to be a Christmas movie, so I'm like, okay, where's the Christmas stuff? And then I realized that they're like in like some foreign country. So I'm like, oh, so we're not going to see
Devil's Island off the
Devil's
coast
Island.
of South Africa.
Yeah. So it took a minute to figure out where they were, because I'm like, where the heck are they? Like, it's like, because we've seen them in like, other movies, like was that Sierra Whiskey, I think it was, or
Sierra Madre.
Sierra Madre, sorry.
Wow. Dark Passage.
Well, he's always drinking in his movies, so.
Key Largo. All reviewed here on the Xtreme Movie Show, 2-part Xtreme Classic.
But Sierra Madre is another example where he's in Mexico. He's not in the United States. So, this is another movie where I'm seeing where he's outside the United States character. And I thought, like, oh, this is gonna be turned into like almost like a Casablanca kind of thing, drama, and it actually turned out to be like a Three Stooges comedy almost with convicts.
Yeah.
It was but it wasn't like slapstick, it wasn't like that, but it was, you could tell that they're like a shell of like, of what I should say. I shouldn't say Three Stooges. I should say more like the Marx Brothers, if they were violent.
Lydia.
They're, especially the whole gag. They come in, they escape from a prison, from a French prison. And they're looking for a place where they see a boat. They have no passports to get on the boat, so they go to a shop and they're gonna rob some stuff, And the guy comes in there and the guy basically pretty much offers them a job. It's hey, I'll pay you money if you can fix the rope. They're like, oh yeah, I can fix the rope. We'll do the roof real great. Obviously, gonna con the guy. They go up there. And this is where like it gets turned into like almost like a Three Stooges movie, like or Marx Brothers. They're up there just going from window to window on the roof, just watching and listening into the other character, that's family, who owns the shop, talk, and they learn their situation. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is actually really good. So then that hooked me right there. The whole them going from window to window, just listening, because yeah, it was. I thought it was actually a really good movie. I'll cut it short. I'll let Pixel go, because I'm sure Pixel has a few choice words or paragraphs.
It was the first watch for me. Was it a first watch for you, RDV?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
what
definitely
about you,
first watch me.
First watch for me too. And
Nice.
I wasn't exactly sure what to expect. I just heard that Humphrey Bogart was in it, and I was like, Humphrey Bogart Christmas movie? Okay, let's give this a try. And I had to agree. At the start, it's all hot and sandy. You can see it. You're like, what's Christmas? But as they get in and you understand, oh, it's Christmas time here in Devil's Island, or whatever they call it.
Devil's Island.
The best way to look at it is when the three are on the roof and they're working, and eventually they're just looking down as the scene's playing out below them. Oh, but I love Paul. Paul's coming here. She reads the letter, she faints, and then that's when they get involved, really. They go down. And the constantly hearing, oh, you have your 3 comics on the roof. Oh, go to the comics on the roof. It's hilarious, and yet it's kind of charming in its own way.
Yeah, I like the dad. You find out the reason that his business is failing because he can't see. He needs glasses, so he's not writing the books out properly. People just borrow things without paying cash. They're on credits. Bogart's character recognizes this. This is the guy he went to jail for basically selling things that weren't what he said they were. So
he sells an idea, not an object, not an item. Yeah.
But I love the fact, like, when the daughter collapsed because she passes out because she read a letter, because apparently the boy she loves is coming there, but he's been betrothed to someone else.
Yes.
The ship, yeah.
Your comment earlier about it almost seeming slapstickish, I think it's based off of a play, and it almost looks like you're watching a 3-act play, because everything's kind of like a scene set up with extended stuff going on. There's not a lot of different locations. Most of it takes place inside of one big stage, obviously, which is supposed to be this gift shop, if you were. So let me back up a little bit, give it some context too, because I think it's important, because at the time it was very notable. You talk about a couple of years before Bogart passed away. Devil's Island was a place where if you screwed up or you're a political prisoner of France, they sent you here. And so this is off, if you go way north of Brazil, where the islands are out there, like the South Caribbean, you get a few islands that are off some of the coasts of some of the areas. And this was a place, for me, known as where people go to die, hard labor and stuff, disease and everything else. It came to my attention because even though I love the Thomas Crown Affair, and not that 99 remake nonsense, I'm talking about the original one with Steve McQueen. To me, Steve McQueen's best movie, and a great movie just about the human condition, is called Papillon, that also has Dustin Hoffman on it. And that one, it was set on Devil's Island as well. A lot of things have been. So the fact that they somehow managed to escape Devil's Island is a big deal. And because Devil's Island closed, I think, in the 1950s, as it were, it's still fresh in everybody's mind of that age. But despite that, we got these 3 guys that are really bad, but Bogart's kind of like the leader. He knows how to do books and scam. Peter Ustinov plays the safecracker, and the other guy kind of plays the muscle. And Pixel, because it's Christmas and I care, I decided to actually do some research on this guy, because I said, the one flaw I was going to ask you guys about this film that I thought I saw and wanted your opinion was this third man. Because when you do slapstick, somebody always stands out as kind of like the oaf or the brute or the whatever that just doesn't seem to fit. And I thought it was Mr. Ray's character. Now, he's a big athletic dude. He's tatted up. And of course, by 1950 standards, he was gigantic, because he was probably 6 foot tall and close to 200 pounds. And then I realized, because before this offline, we recorded our latest episode of the X-Files Season 3, Episode 10 stream, Professor Pixel and I, and it occurred to me, yes, in Hollywood, it's a small world. Shelley Johnston's abusive husband, Leo Johnston, who's played by Eric DeRay, is the son of this guy here, who was also in the military and a hardcore conservative back then, when you really didn't want to come out and say that you were, and was known for being a rugged, physical guy. And I was like, holy crap, this guy, and you can almost see the resemblance if you're into all that. So this is Leo Johnston's real life father, Sir Pixel. I wanted to share that with you because the more I read about this guy, I went, oh, he's a legit dude. I just don't know him from anything, but he looked familiar. He's got a very powerful presence, and I thought, oh, he's not cast well. This guy can't act worth. And I went, nope. He's supposed to be that character, and it fit. Because I tell you, as much as I love Bogart, and I'll start off with you here, RDV, I think the guy that got all the best lines and stole the performance was Peter Ustinov, the safecracker, the guy that played Hercule Poirot and a bunch of movies and stuff. I thought was absolutely fantastic in here. So as much as I love Bogey and I can't take my eyes off him, I went, the guy that did the best was Peter Ustinov. What did you think about that, RDV?
They all had their own distinct personalities. Obviously, Aldo Ray in here, he is the one that went to jail for chasing girls. He's like, and he point out, he's like, I'm just gonna pinch a butt. I'm like, idiot, we just got out of the clinker, and you're gonna go pinch a girl's butt walking us on. Are you trying to get us caught? It's like, you just said the other guy is Peter Ustinov is like his character. He's a crack safer. I love how he could just like, shh, I always do it on blind. Ding. He just
he
pops
like, does
it,
a little,
pops open the safe. No matter what it is, even the bedroom door, it's locked. He just knows how to hit it a certain way. It always opens up. I'm like, this is the most illogical thing ever. You see this guy do this. He has his own. He has his own thing. Him and Aldo Ray are pretty much like the Stooges. Aldo Ray is the one that's kind of like he's the big ox, the big brute guy.
Yep.
He's the youngest of the group. He's the one that likes the daughter of the shopkeeper, but then he also starts, once he gets scolded enough times, he realizes that okay, I can't do anything with this. But they all kind of have a big brother mentality almost for the kid.
Yeah,
and you see it throughout the film. But like I said, like there's that scene where Pixel point out what you were talking about, where she reads the letter, the daughter reads the letter, and she faints. You go down there, and it's like, oh, what are we doing? It's like, well, and Aldo Ray's character, he's like, I read an article, it said, if it comes on fans, you get a glass of water. So he's like, okay. So he's like, quick. He's like, quick, go get a glass of water. He runs in there. He grabs the water, comes out, and he hands it to Humphrey Bogart. He takes a sip, and then they all take a sip, and they're like, okay, what next?
Actually, just a small correction to that scene. You see Aldo Ray as he says, I read somewhere that if a girl faints, you're supposed to loosen her clothing. And Bogart is the one who says, no, you're supposed to get a glass of water. Go get a glass of water. And he goes, he asks Joan Bennett from Dark Shadows. Yes.
I know you know.
I know. Asks for a glass of water.
We've got a fourth to talk about in a moment.
No. I mean, we could go right ahead.
So let's just the plot real quick is the fact that these guys escaped. They're trying to get passports, and they're going to rob this storekeeper blind, literally, with everything they can. And Bogart's going to forge some stuff, and they're going to get out of there and need a steamship that's getting ready to come in because, again, from South America, you only get so many ships that come and whatever. So they're planting their stuff, and they go up, and they start robbing the store. The guy comes out, and the guy's a nice dude. He's an older dude. Again, he doesn't have great vision, but he's running a business where his, I guess his, I don't know if it's his brother or his uncle, some relative of his, who's the money behind the operations, getting ready to come into town and check out the books. Yeah. And it turns out he's massively underwater. So, so Andre, the dude that actually is coming in on the ship that they want to leave on, is bringing along his nephew, who's the chick is hot for, but the nephew's like, no, I'm not gonna marry you because I don't really like you. I just hit it once and that's it. I tried to woo you earlier, and it's been a year since we met in Paris.
Well, yeah, Yeah, he said that to the to the guys.
He's all in it for the money. But the thing about it is, eventually in the third act, when we see Basil Rathbone is the guy that comes in and he comes in and he's the guy that has the money behind it. He is so effective at being a complete dick to everybody within 30 seconds. Holy crap, it's like he steals the scene of anybody. This is a guy that was an excellent fencer. He was Sherlock Holmes for a lot of films way back in the day. If you go back to Tyrone Power, Errol Flynn, all the swashbucklers, Robin Hood, all those kinds of things there, he's a part of all that stuff. The dude's a legit actor, and he comes in just a total prick. And he does it so well that you go, hey, these three guys that want to rob them blind, you're like, you get how this pivots where these three guys kind of almost feel bad for the daughter and the family because they're not naive. They're just a nice family, and that's all they are. And they feel sorry about it because why? It's Christmas Eve. They don't know that they've been ripped off already by these guys. They don't know they've been fooled by these guys who make like they're going to fix the hole in the roof, and while they're upstairs, they see a lot of stuff going on. And somehow they inadvertently worm themselves into their life. And when this guy comes and acts like an asshole, the best thing was the nonverbal thing where the guy, the blonde-haired guy who was a great little douchebag as well, bumps the one dude, the muscle guy, Ray, and I'm like, oh, you little fucker. I can't wait to see what happens. And so these three guys tried to figure out a way to leave, take care of this asshole, and help the family all at once. And that's where the movie pivots. So to me, the first act is kind of slow, but once this starts happening, boom, it takes off. This
kind of reminded me of a little bit of a Muppet Christmas Carol. Is the three guys are basically like Rizzle the Rat and Gonzo, as they're talking about Charles Dickens, Ebenezer Scrooge. They're up there on the windows watching, but then they're like, here comes cousin Andre, who pretty much is Scrooge, coming in, and instead of helping Scrooge, they're like, we gotta bump off Scrooge to get help this family. It was like, oh my gosh, it's like, is this supposed to be like a twist on the Charles Dickens tale? Instead of showing him Airwish ways, like, this guy's a Scrooge. Like, yeah, we need to do something about this to help the family. It's like first one. Yeah.
Because I love them saying how they're going to have to, it doesn't matter. We can't get soft. We're going to have to go ahead, bash their heads in, gouge their eyes out, slit their throats. We got to get out of here. But that's when Andre comes and he's like, everything's in here. We have everything we need more. And they already have their plan ready to go. They're going to not only improve the one guy's life, but leave themselves to where they need to be.
Yeah, John Smith plays Paul. I believe he plays Paul in this movie. No. Is he Paul? We'll look again. John, no, he's a doctor, and this is what kind of funny. You see a character in the very beginning. He's like, in the naval uniform. He's a doctor and stuff. And it's funny. The little gaggle at this. I'm making like, oh, this is gonna be a throwaway gag, and like you're never gonna see this guy again. I love this how this guy comes back towards the end. But in the very beginning, they're sitting there, and this guy comes up off the boat and stuff, and then they bump into him and they ask him a question and stuff. And then I like how after the guy leaves, like you see what's his name holding the money. You see Peter Ustinov. He's just sitting there, close like, okay, like, and then he grabs it, and then Bogart grabs the money. He's like, that's all he's got. He's like, stingy, vacationers, it's like, it's stingy kids, where's the money? like they're complaining like the guy didn't have enough money because he's a kid.
Like, doctor, he was looking for like the not the hospital because it's a small colony, but he was looking for like the health center and all that. So it's not a very rich place. So this would be like the general store in town, and so the whole plot kind of turns is that they've carried around with them a poisonous snake that the guy carries in a small thing, looks like his lunch bucket, and so they're like, well, we gotta kill the guy, and so they're thinking about leaving the snake in there, but they forge like this will and all that. And what I liked here too is the snake does eventually kill the guy, and then the douchebag Blondie comes out. he ended up finding the will and burning it like he got one up on the 3 bad dudes, even though he didn't know he was set up. And you're like, you're a little fucker. But he was smart about it. I appreciated that twist. But then the big twist comes at the end when in the jacket pocket, when he goes to search the guy, the snake bites him and kills him too.
It was funny though because he was gonna cook the books, but he didn't get a chance to get it till then. And they cousin Andre saw the pail there. He's like, "You guys are stealing this too." He's like, "It's mine." It's basically the little pail that's for Adolf is basically like basically that viper is in there, and he takes it. He's like, "Should we?" He's like, and they're like, "Should we tell him that there's a deadly snake?" Because he opens it up, he's gonna get bit. He's like, "How about we cut cards over it now?" And they sit there. He's like, Bogart loses. He's like, "I'll go in there." He's like, "Whatever." He goes in there. He's like, "I forgot what I was gonna say." And then he just keeps dragging his feet.
Yeah. You have Peter Ustinov saying, "Well, you'll go there and you'll simply explain that there's a poisonous snake within the box, and then if he were to discover by sticking his hand inside, well, he wouldn't quite agree with him." It's just genius.
and the fact is, like, the snake does bite him because then he's like, "Oh, he's dead." Yeah, he's dead. It's like, but they couldn't find the snake. They're like, "Oh crap!" So they're searching all over the place. I love that. And of course, Paul. You said how he ends up his demise is by being a conniving little brat. And then he gets a bit too. And the thing is, like, he walks out unlike cousin Andre, who's much older. So Paul and Sonny is like, "Yeah, bam." I'm thinking like, is he gonna die? Did he die? He's like, "Oh, my finger's a little numb." Oh, it's like, feel good. Like, you're like, "Oh, here it goes." And then he's like, I love how they lean him up again. He pushes him like against the wall. Just stay there. He falls forward. No, stay there. Because they kiss. And they're like, so then eventually he gets dizzy and he dies. And they're like, "Well, this is turning into a real mess. We already got enough bodies in here. Where do we put them? The garden." And even before this, the guys like did this whole Christmas celebration for the family, which is really cool.
Very long.
So they decorated everything.
Like yeah.
And even the guy, even the
flowers that look just like the ones in the governor's garden.
They sell the governor's flowers. Yeah, and like I said, like Aldo Ray here, he's kind of like the creepy guy, like the guy you wouldn't want near your daughter because the way he acts around her. It's like, because when you first get the bed, he's like they had to get Peter Ustinov in there, does basically make sure he doesn't do anything to her when she fainted a couple times. And he almost hit her head on the banister too, like from the door.
Yeah.
But I love the best interaction I've seen though was between the mother and Bogart's character, and she really caught on what he was doing when he was selling things. She's like, "You just sold that guy, like, you just even the guy like you sold that person that hair tonic and all stuff, but he has no hair." And like he's like, "Yeah, but I sold I sell things, ideas. I don't sell products." I love that, and she has a respect for him, especially when they said he knows that Paul doesn't love her daughter, but he wants her daughter to be smart enough to get over it, see that he doesn't love her, so he sets it up where they kidnap Paul through the bedroom window into the garden, and then he writes a letter to and like, "Here, Peter, go give this, basically give this to the daughter that gets from Paul, confessing his love for you." And he's like, they tell him, "Paul, you're gonna go over there and you're just gonna nod, just say, 'Darling,' that's it. You're not gonna do anything else. You're not gonna leave and stuff." He's like, "But I don't love her." He's like, "I don't care," So then like their whole plan is that she'd see that he's not into her, that he's kind of this idiot, a jerk, not who she thinks is. And the mother caught on to this too, because she walked out and she's like, "Wait, what are you doing?" So where's my daughter? He's like, "Oh, she learned of this," and I love how she just acknowledges him, like, "Oh my gosh, you're a smart person. You're conniving, but your methods get results." So she appreciates him even more. He saw a turkey. He wanted to go get food for the thing. And he's like, "Where you going?" He's like, "Well," he's like, "I'm gonna go buy a turkey." He's like, "Well, not really."
Well, she even said at one point too that she she admitted to him that, hey, I even thought about killing him, and she goes, I wasn't going to do it or anything like that. She goes, but I just thought how things would be if he wasn't around, because the guy is that bad of a prick. He's an asshole. He's abusive. I mean, he's a tyrant.
Yeah, he is the typical Scrooge.
Yep.
Too, and that's why I was like, wow, it's turning into a Christmas movie, and like even the thing that the author says about she has her tree topper, it's 3 angels, and like, well, there's no halos, no feathers. They're like, no, those are there. Their feathers there, the halos are there. And that plays back into the movie too as well. I love that.
I see them. They look like they just came from the roof.
Yeah, and I think what you said is pretty interesting, because it does not start off like a Christmas movie. It takes its time building up to it, where because it is Christmas Eve, it's the day of, then a night comes on, and then they have a really nice dinner, and then a day finishes up pretty much on Christmas, where they decide after everything happens to maybe stick around, and they kind of leave it open for it too. But you see them all dressed up in suits and everything, and when they leave, and they all look awesome. They look great because they're basically in one uniform or one outfit, prisoner's outfit for the entire movie. And that's kind of neat there too. And yeah, Bogart being sick at this point, he wasn't a big tall guy to begin with anyway. He was about 5'8" or something, real skinny guy, maybe 140. You could kind of almost see it, but just the way it fits him, it did a good job of not being distracted by his health. Yeah, it's tough. But that's when everybody smoked, right? So I mean, and he was one of the first high profile guys to really, let it take him or whatever there too. Pixel, you're the young guy here too, so I'm not sure if you're even familiar. I know you've heard of Bogart. I know we've covered a few movies here on Xtreme Movie Show, but like Peter Ustinov, have you ever heard of them at all?
Yeah, no, I've heard of Peter Ustinov.
Okay.
When I was first watching, I was like, I know that face, and I had to look it up. But yes, no, I've seen him before, and yeah, in classics, as it were. Now. But no, it's a filled cast with some great actors and just an absolutely charming story. I mean, it's not much. There's not much more you can ask for Christmas.
Yeah, it's a movie that I know a lot of older people like, and they grew up watching older films, and so they go, this is one of those films that I've got to watch every for Christmas. It puts me in a good mood because you do feel good. But it's not the type where it's based off of guilt per se, like you might have in A Christmas Carol and Scrooge and all these things that have that hardcore Christian ethic kind of thing to it that some people love and some people hate. This one is just about guys that they're maybe not the best guys in the world, but they're human beings, and they, like I say, they inadvertently find themselves in a situation where they say, you know what, to get back at this bad dude, we're going to help this family. And they fully admit and seem very sincere that, hey, they haven't been treated nice at all. And so they feel obligated to be nice there too. Golden rule, you treat others how you'd like to be treated. Not that anybody follows that. And there's other golden rules too. Of course, Pixel, those who have the gold make the rules. That's is another big one too. But I think it's enough of a Christmas movie where you can sit there and say it's heartwarming without it being over religious. It's not the birth of Christ or any of that other kind of stuff, but it's done where it's an integral part of the movie where I can see where somebody wants to watch it every year, especially if they're a fan of Bogart, because the performances are outstanding. It's a beautiful looking film too. I love the way it's shot. It's very colorful. Like I say, it looks like a play in a sense, as far as only having one or two really big stage sets. And Pixel, the whole thing there at the end with Christmas and all that too, how long they take the color of the it did look really, really nice. But let me hand it to you, being the young one here, to kind of finish up anything before we go to RDV, as far as any observations you have about this great film.
Well, honestly, I didn't know what exactly to expect. Like I said before, there are just so many great scenes that as I was watching it, you can't help but have that smile. While it's not going to be my favorite Christmas movie of all time, it's definitely up there, one that I'm going to remember and have to remember for the future, to show future little children once they're of a certain age, of course. But it's not even. It's really an untouched classic. That's what I should say, because I've never heard of it. And some people in my family that they had heard of it, but they don't really watch it often. So getting to watch that again with some of my family, that was good. It was a solid Christmas memory.
Yeah, Maranya here in chat saying she'll have to catch this one on the rewatch. Yeah, it's a movie that, to be honest with you, I could have swore that I've seen and just said, oh, the remake or the 88, 89 film was trash or whatever. But I look back on it now, I don't know that they're necessarily 100% related. And then after watching this film, I go, I don't know if I've seen this one all the way through. And I'm a big Bogart fan, so going, wow, I just don't recall this. I'm glad I did watch it too. So it's pretty much a first watch for all three of us for a Christmas film. And while there's certain standards that have become standards because they've just been shown over and over again, whether they're good or not, that's really the history behind some of these older films. This is one that, to my knowledge, doesn't seem necessary to be shown a lot. It's never had a stage where AMC or TNT or TBS or someplace said, you know what, every Christmas, week before, we're going to show this Humphrey Bogart film. It might be a part of a festival or something, but definitely a very good film there too. Let's go to you, RDB, for final thoughts on this film. Anything that sticks out that you want to communicate to everybody? We've got about 6 people watching right now.
Peter Ustinov's character, the reason he was in the jail because he bumped up his wife.
Yeah,
he gave him Christmas and give her
she was giving a present to someone else.
Yes, give. But the way he acts in this, I'm like, in this older movie, he is such a sweetheart, man. He's almost like if you compare these guys to the Chipmunks, he's the Theodore. Where
he's the smooth operator. Absolutely, yeah. He's the charmer. Yeah, he's the womanizer.
Actually, no, he might be more Simon, where Aldo is the Theodore, and Bogart's the Elvin, with the way their personalities are. And I just he's the comedy relief. He's the and then obviously he's kind of smart, but he's also dumb too. But where Aldo is just completely dumb, and occasionally might have a thing, and they'll look at him like, wow, he had an idea. It's it wasn't just trying to grab someone. It's
well, Peter Ustinov was known for a lot of stuff. The guy's definitely by no means a side actor. He may have been due to billing because of Humphrey Bogart being in here, and Humphrey this late in his career, I think still gets top billing on everything. But yeah, Peter Ustinov, man, what a performer here. Like I said, I think he's had the best lines, the best deliveries. I just think it was such a strong performance by all of them. Really, that's the thing that impressed me the most about it too.
It was my fault. I didn't write her that I was coming.
Leo G. Carroll, guy who plays the boat. He's the shopkeeper. North by Northwest he's from. I just recognize him. I look like, where is he? I know I can say. Hey, he's in North by Northwest. This movie has a lot of cool actors in here. Some you may not recognize, and then when you go to look up their IMDb, it's like, oh my gosh, that's right, they were in this movie. I completely forgot. Especially for me, I'm not familiar with a lot of faces or really names. Some I do recognize more, but like I said, this is kind of this whole movie. I thought it was going to be a complete slapstick, or even just could be another drama, like Sierra Madre, was slightly a drama with comedy elements. So, because they're escaped convicts, I'm thinking hey, when are you going to do this? If the cop's going to show up, are they going to get arrested? They almost did because, I love how Peter Ustinov is like, can I dream about that one? The fat lady that comes the shopkeeper. Because Bogart says no, because they see the mom first, undressing, taking her outer skirt dress off, and he's like, I'm gonna, I'm gonna dream about this one tonight. Because first Peter had said that too, but he's like, no, I get to dream about her, He's like, oh, because then when somebody sees the fat lady come to the show, he's like, can I dream about that one? He's like, sure, go ahead. He's like, yes. He's just so happy about it. Where woman. Where Otto or Aldo, he's basically, he's like, I like the daughter. I'm like, yes, we know you do. It's like, keep him away from the daughter.
I'll say this to kind of end it. I know
But
it's been hip for years for people to go and argue and start something up on social media about whether Die Hard is or is not a Christmas movie. And to me, I look at this film and I mentioned how it occurs during Christmas. Um, I don't I don't know by my standards if I would even call this a Christmas movie, because it doesn't. If you take out the Christmas and it's 2 other days, it could be an Easter movie, it could be some other movie, but everyone likes to have fun with all that too, because I think now you're seeing that people are going, oh, Die Hard's got to be a Christmas movie because if there's a Christmas tree in it, for God's sakes, it's got to be a Christmas movie. And it's like, no, that's just not true. It has to do with what Christmas is
it's a
about,
Christmas
which is
movie, and it has
Christ
nothing
and
to
the
do with this
religious
movie at all.
aspect. And a lot of people just want to conveniently ignore that fact that if you take that out of the film, do you still have the film, or can you replace it with something else? Here you could. So I would argue that it's not. But that being said, it was a huge, big budget film for the 50s at that time, with one of the best actors of all time, Humphrey Bogart, in there, and some other great performances. So it's one that can be very memorable, whereas some others, even though they've had certain stories that people like and they find them heartwarming and schmaltzy, and I'm not saying they didn't have good actors in them too, but it's digestible. It was early off and on, 65, 70 years ago, where there's not that many Christmas movies or holiday films, or whatever you want to call them. And so this one, I definitely think people put them in there, and I think that's a good thing too. But it's by no means one that I think comes to the top of a lot of people's lists, unless you love old films, particularly Bogart films, and you're the type of person that seeks these things out, which is what we chose to do. We had the reason why this came about, for those joining us and listening, is that we had put up on our community tab a poll about which movie to do next, and so we had Bad Santa. We had Rare Exports. Scandinavian stuff's usually pretty good. We had, of course, this film, and then we had something else I don't recall off the top of my head. That was a nice film, and it was good, and we would have recovered that too. But the votes came in, and they were a 3-way tie. So we said, you know what? Instead of doing like Charles Bronson 10 to Midnight, which we can always do a week or two from now, we wanted to close out on one. We said, you know what? We love Humphrey Bogart so much, having covered Treasure of Sierra Madre, Key Largo, Dark Passage, and more to come, obviously, here on the Xtreme Movie Show, that we said, you know what, let's give this one a shot. And thankfully, as a first watch for all of us, it sounds like we all love the film. Can we agree on that?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like I said, it's like a serious, like, Marx Brothers movie, and you get Zeppa coming at the end to get the girl.
Lydia, oh Lydia, say, have you met Lydia?
Yeah. Yeah, and chat, Marania posted a link of what's showing on TCM, because this is showing Monday at 8 o'clock. So
John Smith did some movies with John Wayne. So he's that. So he's the younger guy that gets the girl at the end of this movie. But he did a couple different Western shows and some Western movies with John Wayne. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, we're no angels. 1955, Humphrey Bogart, Peter Ustinov, and the Aldo Ray guy or whatever, whose son plays in Twin Peaks. That was the first thing I learned today, so I'm proud of that fact. I'll never forget that too. Small world as it goes. Guys, if this is the last time you're listening before the holidays, I want to say thanks for making Xtreme Movie Show a great place for us to review films, TV, what we do. Obviously, we base a lot on what feedback we get for stuff. We're continuing with Twin Peaks right now. The next episode's getting ready to drop. We just recorded another one today, so we got about 6, 7, 8 more of those to go. Obviously, publicly, I'd like to thank RDV and Professor Pixel for showing up and making a part of an interesting conversation over the years with you guys here listening here too. Mariah, everybody else that shows up, Ed and chat, Jim and whatnot too. We're getting close to that march of 1,000, and I expect good things in the new year. So if we don't talk, maybe we'll drop something before Christmas, maybe not, because our schedule's all off. But I'd like to say happy holidays, Merry Christmas, enjoy. And of course, as always, thanks for listening, and stay extreme. Good night, everybody.
So long.